What I did for Nas probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas
you did the last time he was in some shit like this where people were comparing was when him and Jay was beating on him.
Say that.
It has to be in the top 5.
If you're not putting Drake in the top 2 of all time, like what are we gonna do? We're gonna keep putting shade on it.
Drake just jumped into the mix and backed up Jim Jones right after Jim said he's better than Nas. And the reason Drake inserted himself into this whole mess? Super petty. Drake really thought him and Nas were on good terms. Until Pusha T dropped a bomb. Nas is gonna be featured on the upcoming Clips album. That tiny detail was all it took to set Drake off. Instead of staying out of it like most people, Drake went full-on Team Jim, even while the rest of the rap world backed away from the drama. Now Jim's out here wildin', calling Drake the greatest rapper alive. Yep, better than Nas, better than Jay-Z, better than all the legends. And that's not all. Jim's also riding hard for Drake over his legal mess with UMG. You heard that right. Drake's suing his own label for letting Kendrick diss him on Not Like Us. The industry's been roasting Drake for taking the battle to court like he caught a technical foul instead of an L. But Jim, he's out here saying Drake's doing it for the culture. Seriously. So now the real question is, are Drake and Jim actually trolling us? Are they chasing clout that bad? Or do they really believe they're the only ones speaking facts while the whole game's got it twisted? Let's really get into it. If you haven't heard, Jim Jones already stirred the pot when he said he's better than Nas. And even after catching major heat, he doubled down like, I put Nas back in the spotlight. He hadn't gone viral in years. But you already know hip-hop fans weren't about to let this slide. The second Jim said he's better than Nas, the internet exploded. People were calling it straight up disrespectful, and the comment sections got crazy. Most folks couldn't even wrap their heads around the fact that Jim Jones versus Nas was being mentioned in the same sentence, while the rest were just clowning hard. Jim, Nas, Jim, or Jim Jones? Oh, nah. That was the energy everywhere. It didn't matter that Jim's been grinding for over 20 years. The second he tried to measure up to Nas, fans hit the brakes. Cause when it comes to Nas, critics don't even debate. This is the guy who dropped Illmatic at just 20 and still racks up Grammy noms 3 decades later. And if you ask other heavyweights in the game, like RZA, Nas isn't just a rapper, he's a full-on genius. The Bobby Fischer of MCs, as RZA once said. But Jim? He's not backing down one bit. He's doubling down again. He just teased a new interview with Angie Martinez, and from the looks of it, he's still got more to say about Nas. Yup, he's keeping the controversy rolling. Now, if you peep the comments, fans are completely over it. They're calling Jim out for chasing clout. One person even said, "Why is this man-child so obsessed with going viral?" That's all I've heard from him for weeks. Does he really think dissing Nas is gonna help him blow up? Sell more records. That's what one fan fired back with. But another comment hit way harder. How you lose a rap battle you started, and your opponent didn't drop a single bar or reply. And they're not wrong. Nas hasn't said a word since Jim started running his mouth, like he doesn't even see Jim as worth the energy. But just when it felt like this whole mess might finally fade away, boom! Drake jumped into the convo, totally uninvited. This drama had zero to do with him, but he still found a way to insert himself. And of course, he didn't come empty-handed. He showed support for Jim and slid in some slick shade aimed at Nas too. Drake posted a photo of him and Jim together, like they're mob bosses or something. And then Jim dropped a cryptic comment underneath. Men have respect. Mafia rules. A toast to the last ones left. Fans saw right through it and tore them apart in the comments. People were calling this the ultimate cringe collab. Some even said Drake and Jim are officially the corniest duo in the game. And honestly, it felt less like loyalty and more like Drake using the drama to stir chaos, something he's gotten real good at. Drake lives for attention. Being a contrarian keeps him trending, and he knows exactly how to get people talking. But this ain't all random. Drake and Jim actually go way back. And when Drake was catching heat from the Kendrick beef, Jim was one of the few industry folks who had his back. Remember when Drake sued Universal Music Group after Kendrick dropped Not Like Us? Most of the rap game laughed it off, but Jim, he called it a power move. Straight up backed Drake in public. Then, in an interview with Angela Yee, Jim took it even further, saying Drake's done more for the culture than most rappers out here. But he didn't stop there. Jim really said Drake isn't just one of the best, he's the best rapper of all time. And get this, he even called Drake his spirit animal. Yeah, he really said that. But fans weren't feeling none of it. The moment Jim called Drake his spirit animal, the backlash got even louder. People were like, is this a rap battle or a bromance gone off the rails? Social media lit up with people clowning both of them, saying Jim's riding way too hard for a man who probably wouldn't even show up if he needed bail. And let's be real, this whole defend Drake at all costs routine has folks asking what Jim is really trying to prove. Some fans think Jim's trying to stay relevant by hitching his name to the hottest drama, while others are convinced Drake's using Jim as a pawn to keep his hands clean while the trolling continues. And here's where it gets even messier. Insiders are now whispering that Drake loved how Jim kept dissing Nas, because it let Drake shade Nas indirectly without taking more heat himself. It's like Jim's playing attack dog while Drake sits back, smirking and sipping champagne. Meanwhile, Nas, unbothered, unmoved, still silent, still legendary. But instead of backing off, Jim just keeps pushing. He's been dropping vague lines in interviews, hinting that Nas is outdated and that the game passed him by. Fans weren't having it. One person posted, Jim acting like he's the voice of the streets, but he's sounding more like a jealous uncle at the cookout. Even longtime Dipset fans are confused. Some are saying Jim's legacy is getting overshadowed by all the noise. He's becoming a meme, one user wrote, and it's not even funny anymore. It's sad. But Jim? He doesn't seem to care. If anything, he's doubling down harder than ever, linking up with Drake, throwing shade at Nas, and acting like he's the one carrying the torch. The internet's watching, and the fallout might be just getting started. Now here's where things take a wild turn. Right after all the backlash, Jim popped back up, this time hinting that he and Drake might be cooking up something bigger. In a recent clip, Jim teased a major collab on the way and called it game-changing. Fans instantly started speculating. Is Drake really about to jump on a diss track aimed at Nas? That possibility alone had social media melting down. Some were hyped, others disgusted. One post read, if Drake drops a Nas diss in 2025, that's the final nail in the coffin for this dude. Another said, Drake really about to ruin his legacy trying to play tough guy with Jim Jones? And let's not forget, Drake's recent string of L's has already taken a toll on his image. Between the Kendrick beef, the lawsuits, and now this messy alliance with Jim, fans are saying he's falling off. Fast. One user wrote, this isn't the Drake that ran 2015, this is desperation dressed up as confidence. Meanwhile, Jim is out here talking like he's got the industry shaking. He said in one IG Live, people scared cause they know we speaking the truth, we got the crown now. But fans weren't buying it. Someone replied, you got the crown? Bro, Kendrick ended Drake in 4 bars, and Nas didn't even look in your direction. The situation is so messy now that even some rappers are starting to speak up, subtly throwing shade or unfollowing both Jim and Drake. And that's the thing. Hip-hop might thrive on beef, but the respect part still matters. And when you go after someone like Nas, who's considered untouchable by most of the culture, it better be worth it. Right now, it's looking more like a cry for attention than a power move. And just when people thought things couldn't get more chaotic, boom, Jim Jones took it to a whole new level. In another live stream, he straight up dared Nas to respond. Yup, he said, if Nas think he still got it, tell him to come outside. The internet went crazy. Fans were like, is Jim really trying to bait Nas into a rap beef in 2025? But here's the thing, most people ain't buying the tough talk. They see it for what it really is, a desperate grab for headlines. One fan said, this ain't a battle. It's a man yelling into the void hoping somebody hears him. Another wrote, you can't challenge a legend when your last hit dropped during the Obama administration. And it's not just fans calling it out. Some OGs in the game are side-eyeing this whole thing too. A few producers and industry vets have been liking shady tweets, low-key throwing shade without saying names. Word on the street is, a lot of people behind the scenes are embarrassed by Jim's antics, but keeping quiet to avoid the drama. As for Drake, he's gone quiet again. No statements, no bars, no responses. Just passive-aggressive posts and cryptic captions. The same fans who once praised his strategic mind are now saying he's hiding behind Jim like it's some kind of human shield. And let's not ignore the real issue. Every time Jim disses Nas, it backfires. Streams go up, respect for Nas grows, and Jim ends up trending for all the wrong reasons. It's like he's building Nas up while trying to tear him down. So now people are wondering, how long before this whole thing collapses? Will Nas finally say something, or is staying silent his ultimate flex? Because if this keeps going, Jim and Drake might just talk themselves into the biggest L of the year, and the rap world will be watching every second of it. Now, when it comes to Drake's history with Jim Jones, it runs deep. Drake's been repping Dipset since day one. He's always shown mad love to Harlem, shouting out Cameron, Jules, and Jim like he was part of the crew. And back in 2023, Jim even crowned Drake the honorary 5th member of Dipset. That's family talk. But let's be real. Drake jumping into this whole Nas vs. Jim mess? It ain't about brotherhood. It's not about loyalty. It's definitely not about principle. Nah, Drake had his own petty reason for throwing shade. Here's the tea. Pusha T and Malice just dropped the official track list for their upcoming Clips album, and guess who's featured? That's right, Nas. According to Complex, Nas appears on track 12, Let God Sort 'Em Out. And if that name sounds like a warning shot, you're not wrong. Pusha even told Rolling Stone the song is sharp, and that he's been chasing a Nas feature for years. The album also includes a Kendrick Lamar collab called Chains and Whip. And yeah, the whole thing's produced by Pharrell. That's 3 names: Pusha, Kendrick, Pharrell, all known to have serious tension with Drake. So you already know fans are connecting the dots. Now, Nas has never come for Drake publicly. In fact, Drake's shown respect for Nas multiple times over the years. They weren't tight, but they weren't enemies. But now, with Nas showing up on a Pusha T album, that also features Kendrick? To Drake, that's personal. And it gets even worse. After Kendrick dropped his GNX album and torched Drake in their beef, Nas posted the cover and said, "Always inspired by my brother Kendrick Lamar. Salute King." Whew! So when you look at all this together, Drake backing Jim Jones and tossing shade at Nas suddenly makes sense. It's not random, it's strategic, it's petty, and it's all about ego. Drake's not just mad, he feels cornered, and instead of focusing on his own lane, he's out here playing industry chess just to keep himself from looking weak. But here's what everyone is really watching now, that Clips album. With Pusha, Kendrick, Nas, and Pharrell all teaming up, Drake might want to stop plotting and start writing, because things are about to get ugly in the booth. If you enjoyed the tea, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more wild celeb drama. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Till next time, stay tuned, stay messy.